This is the DeafBlind Potter Show, and my name is Kelvin Crosby, and I am the DeafBlind Potter. And if you're here to live beyond your challenges, you're at the right spot. So let's go on this journey and live beyond our challenges. Hey, so good to see you. Even though I can't see you, it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm so excited that you are here at the Deaf Blind Potter Show. My name is Kevin Crosby, also known as the Deaf Blind Potter, and I got quite the show for you today. Let's just think about this. Let's get really crazy, really ridiculous. But could a deaf blind person be a beekeeper? Why not? You hear the buzz, bee, wouldn't that be quite entertaining to watch me go around and try to capture bees and do all those fun things like beekeepers do? I mean, yeah, I do wonder if I'd get stung quite a bit. But since this whole month we've been focusing on homesteaders and the challenges that they've been facing and asking the question, can a deaf blind person live beyond his challenges homesteading, and exploring the idea. I know it's crazy, and I'm crazy, but hey, that's the way God created me, and that's the way God molded me, is to create these ideas and how I live beyond my challenges, and think through how could we accommodate this for me to live beyond my challenges. So today I brought a beekeeper today, and I'm excited to have him here and talk about beekeeping, but also talk about his challenges and how he lived beyond his challenges in getting into beekeeping. Because what's really interesting about his story, he hasn't been always a beekeeper. And he hasn't always been a homesteader either. So I'm super excited to go into his story today, and for you as individuals to learn how does this individual live beyond his challenges and how did he become a beekeeper. And at the end, we're going to find out, is this a good idea for a deaf-blind person? So let's welcome Adam to the Deaf-Blind Potter Show. Welcome, Adam.
Howdy, how are y'all doing?
Good, man. I'm excited that you're here. And as I'm learning more about you, keep getting more excited about who you are and what you do. And so what's funny is you started kind of flirting with the homesteading world, and where I my story kind of started where God really started taking a change in my life up in Sequoia National Park area where Hume Lake Christian Camps is. And so that's where you started your beginning stages of homesteading. So can you kind of tell us about your story and before you guys went to Tennessee, and what kind of drove you guys to have to move to Tennessee?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we grew up in Bakersfield, California, which is just south of the Hume Lake area. And we actually, both of us went to Hume Lake at different times for youth camps, winter camp, summer camp. I think I even was a counselor at a youth camp at one point. So we're definitely familiar with where you were at. But yeah, long story short, or long story long, we both we're having our big boy jobs in California, living the dream, the rat race, going into debt on a house, and just doing all the things, and just really honestly working as much as we possibly could to take a vacation every summer for 3 or 4 weeks and get away from California, only to come back and do it again for another 11 months. And we don't have kids, so at some point we really felt like it was time to get out. We wanted to flee California, and I know a lot of people have
I don't
since we
blame you,
left.
man. Flee, run away fast.
Well, there's a lot to love about California. There's a lot that we miss about California. California is one of the most beautiful, geographically diverse or geologically diverse states, actually places in the world. Really, there's so much beautiful there, but for the obvious reasons, coming up to about 2018, we just really felt like we were called out of there, and we had family in Tennessee, so that's why we checked out Tennessee. Um, on one of those vacations, though, that we were taking to flee California and get away for 3 or 4 weeks, we would commonly do road trips and we'd listen to books. And we listened to a book called "Folks, This Ain't Normal" by Joel Salatin, and basically talking about the food industry, and how, basically through our food that we're being poisoned on a daily basis, that we're eating just very unhealthy food, and that to become healthier, we needed to raise our own food. And so when we decided we were going to make the jump out of California, that was the plan, was to move somewhere where we could grow our own food and homestead and live off the land. And so Tennessee ended up becoming that place. And we had no idea, we didn't know anything really about homesteading at all. We had dabbled in chickens for eggs. We dabbled in some meat chickens. And so we'd raised some meat birds and butchered them. And then we'd grown a garden and some tomatoes and whatnot, but we had not really grown a lot. And so coming here 6 years ago, about, we really honestly had no idea what we were doing when we got here, other than we just knew we wanted to raise our own food. We chose Tennessee because it is in the so-called banana belt, and it's a really easy place. The growing season is really long, so it's a really easy place to grow your own food. So that was a big reason why we came here. We were somewhat afraid of the muggy and buggy weather that everybody talks about.
I mean, I was just in North Carolina, Louisiana area, and I tell you, those bugs are gigantic. Even though I can't see, but the cane can definitely feel them, and it felt like I was running over rats.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, we definitely have some bugs, and they're no joke. But it's just one of those things, you get used to whatever environment, you end up acclimating to your environment and adapting. And we've really come to love Middle Tennessee. We love it where we're at, and we wouldn't change anything about what we've done to this point. So when we got here to our homestead, we bought a little piece of property with a house on it. And when we got here, the first things we chose to do was we went and bought some egg laying chickens. We bought a Great Pyrenees dog to protect those chickens. And then about that same time, I ordered 3 packages of bees. And I knew nothing about bees. I just had started researching and talking to people. I joined a bee club, got a mentor, and I ordered 3 packages of bees.
So hold on, before we go farther, like that just seems very weird to me. The city boy in San Diego, you know, like you go order a package of bees, and then when wouldn't you say when you open the box that they're all gonna fly out and just fly away? I mean, to me that just seems like kind of crazy to just order a box of bees and be like. So kind of tell me like what is that like? Like you does it come like do they get tumbled in the mailing system? Like what is that shipping experience like? Because honestly, it doesn't seem very conducive for bees to be in a box and be confined to a little box to be shipped around the country.
Yeah, so basically, a package is made with a queen and about 10,000 bees, and they put them in a screened box, and they keep the queen separate. She's in a little queen cage, is what they call it, and basically they've got plenty of air and everything. But yeah, they ship them to you. It's the cheapest way to get bees, and so a lot of people, and there's money in it, the bee industry, and I tell people all the time, I mean, everything that we do as hobbyists or homesteaders or backyard beekeepers is all driven by money, and that's
Yeah,
not necessarily the best thing for the bees. And
yeah,
so, long story short, buying a package of bees is the cheapest way to get bees, theoretically. Uh, Except for I teach you how to get free and feral bees, and we'll touch on that, I'm sure, here soon.
yeah.
But long story short, you're right. When you get a package of bees, it's very unnatural how you're getting
So
them.
stay tuned. When we come back, we're gonna dive more into this beef thing. So see you on the other side. Hey, 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 it's Kelvin here, and I want to tell you about my podcast, the Perseverance Podcast, where you as an individual can hear individuals persevere through their challenges that they have faced in their life. For example, the most famous Chippendale stripper and the number one porn star in the world literally transformed his life and now is rescuing people from this industry and helping them find purpose in their life. Also, Casey Marsh, where she had a baby born without a brain and how she went through that grieving process. And lastly, one that's really fascinating is about Spencer Renfro, where he died and came back to life after driving 140 miles an hour. But when he died, he didn't come back alive the same. So you gotta go check out the Perseverance Podcast at perseverancepodcast.com and hear these stories and how people persevered through their challenges. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges and go to perseverancepodcast.com. Hey, so good to see you, even though I can't see you. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's Kelvin here, and we got a special guest today, and I'm excited about having a beekeeper on today's show about wondering how does a deaf-blind individual beekeep, and is it really a safe idea? I mean, truly, you know me, I'm going to try crazy things and I'm going to go for it. And this whole month was all about homesteading and those challenges that you have to live beyond. So today, that's what we're going to be focused on is homesteading, but maybe looking at bees to be part of that homestead. And before we dive into that, you're probably wondering where is the pottery piece right now? Well, we've only gone through one segment, so I got into piece centered, and today our goal is to make a beehive. And I tell you, I'm having a hard time remembering what a beehive looks like, but I'm gonna do the best I can and see if I can be successful in doing that today on the pottery wheel. So, anyway, so I got Adam here. Adam was talking about his journey in becoming a homesteader. So, Adam, I know, kind of dive right into when you started your homestead in Tennessee. What were some of the things that you had to really learn um, in the first couple years to really become successful where you're at today? Kind of tell us some of those challenges and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so some of the challenges, I would say the biggest one, we had a real, I guess, culture shock coming from California to Middle Tennessee and to the South. It's a much different pace of life. The people here are very friendly, which is really nice. But just the environment, the muggy and buggy that we already kind of talked about a little
Hmm.
bit. Just the weather conditions, the seasons, the changing of the seasons. So there were some things to get used to for sure. I would say, some of the biggest things were just talking to our neighbors, people that were native here, and finding out, what grows good here and when do you start growing your food. And because that was one of our, obviously that was our biggest goal really was to get to the point where we were self-sufficient and living off the land. And we knew it was going to take a little while to get to that point, but we dove in head first and we got after it. And so, the challenges were environment related, weather related. We were used to getting maybe 12 inches of rain per year in Tehachapi, California, where we lived most recently before we moved here. But here, we can literally get 12 inches of rain in a couple of weeks. We
Yep.
had no idea we were moving to one of the wettest places in America. So, which makes it great for growing things. It's crazy when you come here and visit. You won't see sprinkler systems. Nobody has irrigation. It's just a lot of people have water catchment where they're catching water specifically for stock ponds and things like that,
Hmm.
and even rain barrels on the backs of their barns and stuff. But I mean, we can pretty much water all of our food and all of our animals with rainwater, literally, and all year round. We don't run out of water, and so it's pretty crazy that way. That we had to get used to how wet things are. And it's kind of funny coming from Tehachapi, California. I used to say they had a sign coming into town that said "the land of four seasons," and I used to laugh about that. And I say, yeah, we would have winter, wind, summer, and fire. And anybody that's lived in the southern Sierra Nevadas knows that that is the four seasons there. Well, here in Tennessee, we have winter, we have mud, we have spring, and then we have humidity, is what I would say. So we definitely have a mud season here, and because it rains so much, the only dry time of the year really is July, August, September. But even when we have those dry months, it's not that dry, and we could still get a thunderstorm that drops an inch of rain in 30 minutes during that time, which just drives the humidity through the roof. So,
Yeah. Well,
you know, go ahead, sir.
I mean, what's crazy to me is being in San Diego, I don't understand weather. And the more I've been learning about homesteading, like this is a culture shock for me. I gotta worry about snow. I gotta worry about wind. I gotta worry about rain, and I got all these other things I gotta worry about. And I had an experience a couple of weeks ago where I was in Louisiana and the wind was just blowing, and I'm like, I can't hear for no beans. Like it was very difficult. I was trying to cross a really dangerous street, and I couldn't hear the traffic because the wind was so loud. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, how am I supposed to do this and be successful? And so for me, it was like, oh man. So this is going to be a culture shock if I go into this homesteading world. Like, you got to deal with the wind, you got to deal with things that are gonna come from the sky. You know, like that's just not normal for me. And but I know that's normal for everybody else in the United States. But again, I'm born and raised in San Diego, but I'm like, but could I get adapted to it and learn how to handle it? And I think there are blind people all over around the United States that live in these climates, so they must be doing something successful. So that's what I'm wondering. Maybe this is a possibility if I get over my little San Diego weather situation. So I'm glad you brought up the weather. And I know your good friend Mona, that's her favorite thing to talk about is weather. And it tickled me on her podcast. She talks about weather. I'm like, oh boy, she's the weather lady. But anyway, back on topic. So you're learning all this weather. So how did you start learning how to adapt to the weather in Tennessee to be able to best accommodate it?
Well, lucky for us these days, we've got these weather apps and we're able to track things fairly easily. We get lots of warnings and that sort of thing when things are coming. But it's interesting, we've got a really large Amish community really close to us that we do a lot of business with. They actually build our bee boxes that we sell. And they don't have smartphones out there. They don't have computers. They don't use the internet, and so they have learned how to read the signs and the weather. They keep a close track of the calendar. They keep a close track of the moon. So they're in tune with all kinds of things that we just get lazy with our modern conveniences and using smartphones and everything else. So you start to learn how to read the weather, and you pick up on those things when they say, "Oh yeah, when the sky's pink in the morning, the sunrise and the clouds, then that means we're going to get rain that within 24 hours." And they're usually right, or they're looking at certain bugs certain times of the year and they say, these are hatching right now. That means next week we're going to have this,
That's
you know?
fascinating. I mean, so really the sunrise tells you what the rest of the day is going to be like.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also the sunset, what's going on when the sun is setting, tells you a lot about what's coming maybe the next morning. So, when you don't have those modern conveniences, you can, look at signs like that are in nature, and you can kind of do some forecasting on what's coming. Um,
So
another,
really, at the end of the day, I gotta find a way to be able to see the sunset and the
yeah,
sunrise to tell me about the weather. Okay, maybe I get a dog to tell me about that. Do you think a dog would be able to help me do that?
yeah, either that or somebody, next door neighbor or something like
But
that.
well, I think about some of the challenges I got. I got a wife that likes to sleep in, and my foster son he doesn't want to wake up. So I gotta get up early. I get up early, but I gotta find a way to get that sunset to know that I'm gonna get good weather or not. So all right, that's something I gotta figure out. So so y- so you're learning how to you learning with the apps, but also learning from the Amish, which is fascinating to me. And Amish people, they fascinate me all the time. But let's not digress here. But so, what are some other challenges that you face in the beginning of your homestead that somebody like myself should be kind of thinking through? Like, think about this. What would you do to live beyond that challenge?
One of the things that we were able to kind of identify right off the bat is if you're going to homestead, the idea of it is to live off the land and really to grow what you eat. And so a lot of people will start growing something or they'll have animals that they don't necessarily want to have or that they eat. And so that really was part of our focus right off the bat. And I would highly encourage people that if they're going to get into this, that they identify those things that they love the most and that they like to eat and work towards those things. So we got, milk cows, we got bees because we love honey. We started growing the vegetables that we eat. We raised pigs for quite a while. We don't have any at the moment because they're all in the freezer, but we love country sausage. Like I said, we got the chickens right off the bat because we eat eggs every morning.
Hmm.
We've got dairy cows and beef cows. We eat some beef and we drink raw milk every single day. So those are the things that we focused on, and just identifying those things that you want to grow yourself and that you like to eat. That's a really important hurdle to get over right off the bat, just in your planning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something I've been really thinking about because it's something like for myself. It's like, how would I do this? Like, I don't like vegetables, but hey, I'll eat some vegetables if I cook them up or put them in a blender. But if I had to eat them raw, it's just not my cup of tea. But I love eggs, and I like to eat a lot of eggs. But when I talked to Mona when she was coaching me, she was like, "You might want to not get chicken. You get something different, like ducks or quail or something like that." And I'm like, "Okay." But I've never had any of those eggs before. I've only had chicken eggs. So I'm like, how would I work with that? But so tell me a little bit about your raising pigs. Because I tell you, people have told me that is not easy to do.
It's interesting. It doesn't matter what you're talking about raising, whether it's sheep or bees or goats or pigs or cows. There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to tell you that it's not easy to do and that those animals are going to get out, and they're going to give you a bunch of reasons why you shouldn't do it. I'm one of those crazy guys that I go the opposite way, and I say if you want to do it and you put your heart to it, you'll figure out what you need to do to get it done, and you'll be successful doing it. Pigs to me are fairly easy. The biggest thing is keeping them in a pretty decent fenced area or something like that. Electric fence can work, and we used electric. The biggest thing with pigs, and this goes for all animals, they need to have clean water. They need plenty of food. Pigs need a water hole to bathe in, basically, and to get mud on their skin. Uh, but if you keep them in all those things, they're pretty easy, and they just sit there and grow. Uh, you can get a piglet that's 8 weeks old and weaned, and about 4 months later, you can take that thing to the butcher, and it'll weigh 250 pounds by the time you take it.
Wow.
So you can raise, you can end up with a significant amount of sausage with not a lot of effort put into it, really. They'll eat anything. So there's lots of people that'll go, they'll go to the food pantries that have leftover food, or they'll go dumpster dive, or they'll go to the thrift store when they're giving away free bread, and they'll bring it home and throw it over the fence to the pigs, and the pigs will just eat it up. You can feed pigs anything and they'll eat it. So if you
Huh.
have a garden going, and you're raising your pig over the summer, you can throw all your garden scraps over the fence to them, all your food scraps, and they'll just turn it into country sausage as fast as you can throw it over the fence. So to me, pigs are pretty easy. Of course, they've got their own issues. They're going to smell a little bit, but most animals do smell, especially if you're going to keep them in a confined area. But yeah, we had fun raising pigs until they started getting out, and then we decided to take them to the butcher.
Hmm.
So that's how that
So,
goes.
yeah, I mean, hey. cause problem. Hey, make you tasty. So,
That's right.
um, so I mean, you probably got a lot of bacon over there too. So that sounds amazing to me. Um, so as so through your homesteading journey, and we'll kind of as we go through the rest of the show, is bees were not necessarily something that you really were thinking about, but bees became your life. And tell us that journey that you went on in the bee world, because I'm very fascinated by it. And then I want to kind of talk about some of the techniques. We'll probably do that on the at the bottom of the hour. So tell us a little bit about your bee journey and how did you get involved in it, and what were some of the challenges that you faced at the beginning?
Yeah, so Leslie and I, we were pretty avid consumers of honey. I've been eating honey, peanut butter and honey sandwiches since I was knee high to a grasshopper, basically, and it's still my go-to dessert, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I've always enjoyed peanut butter and honey sandwiches, and then also,
So when we come back, we're gonna learn more about bees and how a deafblind person can do this. So we'll see you on the other side. Have you ever wondered, without your vision, how you would cross the street? I am the deaf blind potter. I've been hit by a car 3 times in my life. It's said that 87 million people in this world will have the same experience as I have. But I started working on a solution to help solve this problem of blind individuals from getting hit by a car. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a solution that allows you to see me from 100 yards away. It's called the See Me cane, the lighted blind cane. The See Me cane is simple to use. It has an on and off button, a vibration button that tells you that the light is on or off, and has magnetic charging on the top. And it feels just like a normal blind cane. I need your help to donate to the See Me cane, so that way those that are visually impaired can get a See Me cane and live beyond their challenges. Go to seemecane.com to donate today. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges. Hey, it's Calvin here, the Deaf Blind Potter. If you're just joining me, you're listening to the Deaf Blind Potter Show, and you're listening to this month the Homesteading Living Beyond the Challenges series. And what's interesting about this series that we're doing is we're learning how does a deaf blind person do this, as well about the guests I'm bringing on and how they live beyond some of the struggles. And I got a beekeeper today, and I'm super excited that he's here. And that's, Adam's here, and we're just getting into the story of how he got into beekeeping. So, Adam, why don't you continue your story and take us on that journey?
yeah, so we were big consumers of honey before we started our homestead, so it was a no-brainer to get bees and to get going. But we knew nothing about bees, and we were putting honey in our coffee every day, and honey's not cheap, so it just seemed like a really good thing to do to get into bees. So we did all the things you're supposed to do. I started studying, watching videos, reading books, found a local bee club to go to, got a mentor, ordered 3 packages of bees, got those bees, got them in hives, did all the things you're supposed to do. And uh, real quick, I found out about swarm trapping, and I put up a swarm trap on our property, and I ended up trapping a monster swarm in April of that same year. So I'd bought 3 packages of bees to start with, and I was able to trap these free feral bees on my hilltop, 100 yards from our house, and I just couldn't believe it. I was totally hooked because we're trying to be sustainable and live off the land, and so to be able to get free bees versus buying bees,
Hmm.
it was a no-brainer. But then the more I looked into it, the more I found out that the bees that I got were actually better bees than I bought.
Yeah.
uh, I ended up losing those 3 packages of bees that I paid for. They ended up dying and failing that very first winter.
Mm.
And so if I was a brand new beekeeper and I got into bees and I lost half or all of my investment in that first
Mhm.
year, I'd be devastated, and
Yeah.
I would be looking to do something else. I mean, I would not do it basically.
Yeah.
But because I found out about swarm trapping, and I actually found out that they're better bees than I bought, it was good to just. I mean, I basically was sold on that completely, and I just started trapping all my own bees. And so I have not bought bees since the first year, and that's been 6 years ago now. And
So so tell me, because I can't see, but tell me, how would you go? So, all right, just like a net that you put out, say, come here, BB. You go inside here, or or is it like a box? Like, what do you do to capture these bees?
So basically, it's pretty easy. Really, what we're doing, and I'm a natural, sustainable beekeeper, and that's what I teach and I preach every day. Uh, we're just trying to mimic intelligent design and what God created perfect. And so the
Mm-hmm.
bees are looking for a hollowed out tree, 15 feet up off the ground, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a void that's big enough to bring their swarm. And so what we do, or what I do, as a seasoned swarm trapper, is I'm using a box that's got removable frames in it. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
frames that I'm going to use in their forever home. And I put it up in a tree. I bait it. I put those frames in the box, and I put it up before swarm season. Swarm season in Middle Tennessee starts in March and it ends in about July. For you in San Diego, swarm season probably starts in January, February, and probably can just about go for the entire year. Basically, as long as there's a nectar flow going on and the bees
Mm-hmm.
have something to forage on, that helps them, or that basically will make them trigger swarming because they start running out of room inside of their colony, and
Yeah.
that's why they decide to cast a swarm. So what I'm doing as a swarm trapper is I'm just trying to entice them into choosing my trap versus going to a hollowed out tree out in the middle of the woods. And so it's really easy, and I've had a lot of success doing it. I've taught loads of people now how to do it. There's nothing new under the sun, so people have been actually doing this for quite a long time. But it's becoming more and more mainstay, especially with the homesteaders and the backyard
Mm-hmm.
beekeepers, because it is successful. And then another thing is, because the bees are acclimated to your local area, they're already used to the pests, they're already used to the nectar sources and the pollen. You don't have to treat them for pests. You don't have to feed them sugar water, which is
Yeah.
actually very common out in the regular bee world, in the orthodox conventional bee world. So I don't do any of those things. I basically do the exact opposite of what conventional commercial beekeepers do. So once I found this method and started having success with it, it just kind of became a natural thing for me. I had a family that wanted to come over and see my apiary and wanted me to teach them how I do bees, and they came over and I taught them, and we had a great time. And they said, "Hey, can we put this out to some groups on Facebook, to some homestead or
Mm-hmm.
homeschool groups that they could bring kids down here and you can teach them?" And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
And so they put it out, and next thing I know, I've got parents calling me up from all over Middle Tennessee wanting to bring their groups here. And I started teaching and just fell in love with it. So,
Yeah.
I fell in love with the bees right away. And I remember coming down here and telling Leslie, I said, "Hey, I don't know what I've got to do for the rest of my life to do this, but I want to be a beekeeper full time. I don't want to do anything else." And um, and so the teaching aspect of it really became that, income for me as far as the bees went. Of course,
Yeah.
I could sell honey, and I could sell bees if I wanted to, but I don't do that in general. I just we consume most of our honey, but
Mm-hmm.
we do sell some honey. But the teaching aspect of it really has become a great thing, and I've really enjoyed doing it. I've been able to teach now with Homesteaders of America multiple times doing big events. I taught a class online through the School of Traditional Skills, and it's out now. And so a lot of people are gravitating to that and learning how to do my system of beekeeping online. So that's pretty much how we got to today, really.
So the $1 million question: do you think I could do this? without seeing the bees, but trapping the bees and making a system where I can still get to it without getting severely stung. What do you think?
So listen, I teach and I preach that anybody can do what I do, and that includes you. And
Uh,
there are certainly examples out there. There's a bee club called the Sonoma Bee Club in California, and I just heard a podcast on treatment-free beekeepers about a week or two ago. That a blind lady, she had been a beekeeper before she went blind. She had a freak accident and went blind overnight,
mhm.
and she had not kept bees, I think, for 10, 12, 15 years, and thought she never would because she was blind. And she just, on a whim, she just decided to go to the local bee club. And the first night she was there, basically she linked up with a another person that was a beekeeper with eyesight, and that they just found out that they lived right down the road from each other, and the other lady wanted to mentor her, and so they've been best friends ever since. And literally, she keeps bees, they keep bees together. And the one with the eyesight is able to describe some things, but the one without the eyesight has learned how to use her nose, her hands, her the
Mhm.
heat and the coolness. She can feel the bees. She doesn't keep bees with gloves on, so there is the possibility of getting stung. But bee stings are not that big a deal, I promise you. Do they hurt for a minute? Yes, they do. But there's some things you can do to mitigate that pain. And as long as you're not anaphylactic allergic to bee stings, you'll be
Yeah.
fine. But you can absolutely do it by linking up with another a beekeeper, a mentor, and that's something that I teach anybody, even if you have eyesight, and that you're going to be linked up with a mentor, anyways.
Yep. So stay tuned. We're going to continue the conversation on the other side. Hey there. This is Calvin here, and I want to tell you about DeafBlindPotter.com. Well, what are you going to get there when you arrive? You're going to see me, and you're also going to have the experience of all the pottery behind me, the pottery that's in the kiln, all of those experiences where you're going to see mugs, you're going to see heart bowls, you're going to see vases, you're going to see pots, you're going to see bowls. And you can go ahead and purchase it there, and I'm going to get it to you as soon as I can. So that way you can have the experience of feeling the tactile experience of a deaf-blind potter piece. Did you know those 3 rings on every piece of mine? The first ring represents joy. The second ring represents the perseverance that you're going to have to face in your life. And third is the character that you have to build when you find joy in your pain. And the whole piece is your hope to keep moving forward. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, because that's exactly what I want you to do when you have the tactile experience, when you feel a deafblind potter piece. So go to deafblindpotter.com and get your deafblind potter pieces today. And while you're there, if you want a shirt, hat, or hoodie, you can also get Deafblind Potter merch there as well. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, and I'll see you just in a second. Hey, it's Calvin here, and I'm so excited that you are here at the Deafblind Potter Show. And you're probably wondering, where is my piece at the moment? So I have closed off the top, so it's like a big air balloon inside the this piece, and I am making it into a beehive. So I got 3 rings on it, like my normal signatures, because we all know what that means, right? 3 rings mean joy, perseverance, character, and the piece is your hope. And I'm gonna make a little knob here towards the end of the show so that you can hang it from the sky, and then I'll put a hole in the bottom, so that the bee can go inside and then hang their uh the cones, and or the hive, the whatever, the wax stuff that goes inside there. So anyway, so I got somebody that can do better terminology than me here. So Adam, so what do you think about my beehive? Am I in the ballpark?
You're certainly in the ballpark, and you hit it on the head. What they'll build in there is the wax combs where they store their honey and their baby bees. And so you're definitely getting there on the shape. The skep looks like it basically looks like an upside down basket, a woven
Yeah.
basket. And so that's exactly what you're working towards. I can see it. It's looking good. And then at the very top, there's like a top knot or something like that that you could either hang it or it's just for looks, like a little spire almost. But that looks really close right there. I'm looking at some images on Google, and you're definitely getting there. So I'd keep
All
bees
right.
in there.
All right. I mean, I think I mean, we might put this on the store if you want to buy this beehive. You know, it'll be my first attempt ever with this, but hey, we'll see how well it works. So back to this. So beehiving. So we're thinking that I could do this. It's just figuring out the tricks and accommodations I'm going to need to be a beekeeper. So I'm liking this idea. And we know that my family members and the people that are really close to me are like, Kelvin, you are just the most craziest man in the world. Well, what else do you expect from me? And um, so we have Adam here kind of talking to us about some things that you need to consider on beehiving if you're blind, and we kind of heard that earlier. So so if so what are some things that you're going to need to do to capture your own bees that are native to the land, and what are some tools that you're going to need to do that? And also, where can they find all that stuff?
Yeah. So for trapping bees, you need to have a trap that's big enough to fit a large swarm of bees. There's a gentleman by the name of Thomas Seeley, Dr. Thomas Seeley, and he basically wrote the book on bees in the wild. He studied bees at Cornell University, and he studied in the Arnott Wilderness, studied bees in nature. And so we've taken his information, and that's what we use primarily to set up swarm traps. So the container size that he came up with was 40 liters. That bees preferred that over a much smaller or much bigger container. So that equates to about 1.4 cubic feet. And if you can visualize what an old computer tower looks like, that's about the size of a swarm trap. That is about that 1.4 cubic feet.
So you're saying that I could go get my old built computer that I built from scratch, and just take the guts out and put some hot put them in there?
You could, but I would probably. There's a lot of people out there that are building these things, and so you can either build it or have it built, or you can buy it already built out of wood. I would probably prefer wood. Now, bees will move into anything and everything, but I would probably go ahead and do some the wood. And you want to choose your frame style that you're going to use. The most common frame style is the Western American style frame, which is a Langstroth frame. And that's what most of the equipment, the extractors and everything, honey extractors are made for those frames. Uh, I keep bees in horizontal hives, which are not vertical hives. And that would be another thing that you would probably interest you is using a horizontal hive. So the frames sit in there vertically, but they go
Hmm.
from left to right or right to left versus the orthodox way of the stackable boxes. So you basically have one, think of a chest with a lid on it, a hinged lid, and underneath it you've got all your frames left to right, right to left, and that's where your queen and all your honey is in those frames. And so with that type of beekeeping, you only have to lift one frame at a time and then put it back in versus pulling full boxes of honey off to do a hive inspection. Those
Yeah.
boxes, when they're full of honey, they can weigh from 40 to 80 pounds and be
Wow.
really heavy.
Yeah. So I have something in my mind. You tell me. See, I'm also an inventor, so I think about ways to accommodate. So I'm almost tempted. Is there a way to create a a hive where there's a knob on the top, and so the bees are on one side of the hive, and then you turn the knob so the bees stay in there, but then the honey goes out, so then you could just have it captured down on the bottom, and then kind of drips in. into the bottom, and then turn the knob again, and then so you're never disturbing the bees, but you're just moving the pallet, but it goes in a circle. Would that be something that would be doable?
Yeah, I'm not sure with the removable frames. It's a it's a pretty standard and easy way to do it. There is actually a hive out there called a flow hive. I believe the inventors were out of New Zealand, and it is something similar to what you're saying. That's a little bit easier for honey production or for harvesting honey. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, what beekeepers have found is that you still have to keep bees the same way as you would keep bees in any box. And so there's really kind of no way, I guess, around uh, to doing the removable frames and removing the honey frames in order to harvest them. And it's not as invasive as you would think. The queen and her babies, they all stay in one side of the box,
Hmm.
and they keep their honey in the other side. They keep it separated. And so
Okay.
for us as beekeepers, when we go to get into a hive and we want to harvest honey, we know where the honey's at, and we basically stay away from the queen and from all her baby bees. And it's not very invasive.
Okay. And so basically, you're just pulling out a slide and then letting it drain down. So, like, how do you harvest it? Because that's another thing I don't have a really good. I just have cartoon versions where it's just dripping out of the hive, and you're like, there's so much honey there. It's like it's too much for the hive.
Yeah, so when you think about the comb, right, it's those little hexagon, six-sided
Yeah.
shape. The bees actually
Yeah.
store their
So,
nectar in there.
so stay tuned. We're gonna wrap up the show, and we're gonna learn a little bit more about this, and we'll see you on the other side. Hey there, it's Kelvin here, and I want to hear from you. Are you living beyond a challenge right now, or are you trying to live beyond a challenge? I want to be here for you. I want to walk through this journey with you. I want to encourage you to find joy in the challenge that you're facing and help you persevere by taking that step and building the character that has hope. And you know, by doing that, it's going to change your life. So I need you to email me at contact@deafblindpotter.com and tell me about your challenge. And together, we will live beyond your challenge. I will walk through you with your journey, and possibly you might come on my radio show or my podcast, and we will work through it, and even my fans will help you as well live beyond your challenges. But most of all, we need to work on you first before anything else, so that way you are successful in living beyond your challenges. So that is contact@deafblindpotter.com, and you can email me there, because I'm the only one that checks that email, and it's all confidential. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, and I'll see you in just a second. Hey, it's Kelvin here, and you're at the Deafblind Potter Show, and I got my beehive finished. It got little things for it to hang up in the tree, and then it got the three little hump things so that it makes it nice and easy for the beehive. So the piece is done. So I have Adam here. So Adam, if people want to get a hold of you, where do they need to find you, and where do they need to go?
Well, we've got several options. We have a really nice website at beekept.com because I believe in being kept by bees versus keeping bees. Uh, and we also are on Instagram, being kept. Facebook, you can look up Be Kept. And then we've got a book coming out. It's called Be Kept with Wild and Free Honeybees. And so, if you're interested in more natural and sustainable beekeeping, I do not feed sugar water. I don't treat for varroa mites. I keep bees in horizontal hives, and I have great success doing it. I have a lot of fun teaching others how to do it.
Hmm.
And it's very low to no maintenance as far as the way I keep bees and maintain bees. And the cost can be significantly reduced compared to orthodox conventional beekeeping methods. So that's where you can check me out.
Well, which is what I love about this, because it's something like, all right, we could do this. I think it's something I can do as a deafblind person to keep bees. I know you all think I'm crazy, but hey, get over it. Let's get on this homesteading journey for me. So, um, so Adam, if somebody wanted to get into beekeeping, what would be some first steps? Because you got about a minute here. What are some first step things I needed to think about in capturing the bees and having it ready to take in the honey?
Well, I'd say the best time to start thinking about keeping bees is today. I don't care when it is, 365 days out of the year. You can start listening to podcasts, reading books, watching videos. Get involved in a local bee club or get into my remote bee club that I have on my website and just start talking to other people about bees, and find out what's going on in your area with honeybees. You've got to decide how you're going to keep bees, what frame style you want to go with, what hive style you want to go with. There's a few things that you need to decide before you get into it. And of course, you want to trap feral swarms, like I'm telling you, because they're the best bees and they're gonna give you the best chance at success.
Sound good. So, um, so people, you can get all the links and everything at on the YouTube channel at Deafblind Potter or deafblindpottershow.com, and I'll have all the links to Adam and all the researches that he does. So for me, I'm looking at this and thinking this is probably something that I'm gonna actually look into, because it seems like it's something that is something that's tangible, it's tactile, something I can use my ears for with my hearing aids. I can navigate it, and it's a box and something that I can work with, and managing where the honey goes through. I think that this is something that, hey, I think through this series, this is like one of the first shows I'm coming out. I'm like, I think this is something that I could really do, and I'm thinking, this could be a good idea. And the other thing is, I can make ceramic hives. Um, so if I'm going to make ceramic hives, Adam, what would you recommend that I would do to do that?
So I think the shape of the skep, like you're doing, I think that is the best way to do that with ceramic for sure. Ceramic will be a great house. It'll
Yeah,
basically be like a really big upside down pot. The biggest thing is you've got to make sure that the container space is big enough for a big colony of bees. And
true.
so that
All right.
1.4 cubic feet.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up the Deaf Blind Potter Show. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, and I'll see you next week. That wraps up the Deaf Blind Potter Show. Thanks for joining me, and share this video and encourage somebody to live beyond their challenges, so that way we all can persevere through the struggles of life and overcome the challenges and have hope to live beyond our challenges. I'll see you next time.